It's almost summer, and I mean almost summer here in Canada. And that means soaking up the sun, longer days, and summer reading lists. So what classifies a book as a summer read? Well, for me, it's a book I'd like to read in the sunshine. Those big, chunky books that you don't get the time to read throughout the year, those big, sprawling, epic, long novels that sit on your bedside table, but during the summer you get a little bit more time to pull them out and read, whether it be on the beach, whether it be in the park, whether it be on the patio of your favorite cafe. And so in today's video, I would like to share some of my favorite summer reads with you before the summer officially kicks off, while also offering an apology to all my Southern Hemisphere friends because you are heading into winter and that seems unfair. But for those North American friends who have spent a long time waiting for the summer to arrive, here's a summer reading list. So comment your favorite summer read below in the comments and let's jump on in. And before I really dig in, I would just like to express that I am on a beautiful ocean. There are some mountains in the backdrop there. It is still pretty early in the morning, but I apologize for any disruptions with noise. They're not disruptions, they're beautiful noises. So enjoy all of that. Okay, the first book on this list is The Overstory by Richard Powers. This book wasn't instantly intriguing to me. It's about trees, but it did win the Pulitzer Prize and it was recommended time and time again. The cover of the Australian version is significantly different, so that was a more intriguing cover to me than the North American version, but I digress. This novel follows the story of 9 different Americans from unique points of view, from unique upbringings, and connects them all together with this ultimate goal to stop the destruction of old growth forests. And this is an epic, sprawling novel that holds your attention from start to finish. But the powerful part of this novel isn't necessarily the characters. It's the way Richard Powers talks about trees. Obama had this to say about Overstory. It's about the trees and the relationships of humans to trees. It's not something I would have immediately thought of, but a friend gave it to me and I started reading it and it changed how I thought about the earth and it changed how I see things. And that always for me is a mark of a book worth reading. This book here changed my entire relationship with trees and how I see them and how I speak to them and how I feel connected with them. It makes me want to protect trees. It makes me want to preserve the world a little bit more. And every single summer I think about this book and adding it to my reading list because it's very much a summer book. When the trees are in bloom, when they're standing tall, when the sun is sprinkling onto their leaves. And this book just gives you the language for trees. It's beautifully written with copious amounts of information. It feels new, it feels different, it feels unique. And what I really love about it is it centers trees at the forefront of this novel, almost taking the humans and putting them in the back seat. And it's one of the best books I've ever read, and I couldn't recommend it enough to anyone that loves nature, to anyone who loves fictional, epic, sprawling stories. This is a 500-page novel and it is worth every one of the 500 pages. Anyway, that's The Overstory by Richard Powers. All right, next up we have Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. This also won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction. It's a love story. It's an epic adventure. It is an epic, sprawling novel that you get to enjoy slowly through the course of time. This book is a perfect book to sit under a tree and just relax and enjoy yourself. We are taken to a tiny Texas town where we get to meet unforgettable characters, heroes, villains, outlaws, cowboys, and we are projected into their world. An 800-page novel that I read in the winter, and I regret reading it in the winter because I should have read it in the summertime because that's how it feels as a novel. But the characters in this novel and the thing that I really love about Lonesome Dove, even thinking about it 5 months later, is this collection of characters in this place that you don't understand in a world that feels tremendously far from the current one. And you get to watch them on display with character flaws. You get to love You get to cry, you get to weep with them, you get to experience their world and feel every part of that. In this world where we present everything as perfect, we get to watch these characters be flawed and forgiven and hurt each other and break and smash and collapse. And we get to be along for that, and it makes our flaws as humans feel that little bit less. Sorry, I've got a plane. It should pop up somewhere there on the screen at some point in a moment, I think. Or maybe not. Anyway, USA Today says of Lonesome Dove, if you read one Western in your life, make it Lonesome Dove. For many of us, summer is a time to tackle those long and chunky books we don't have time for in the busier months. A dedicated companion for those longer days, Lonesome Dove slots into summer swimmingly. An epic story of cowboys, outlaws, and the land. The beauty of Lonesome Dove lies in its unforgettable cast of characters and how beautifully their flaws resemble our own. The Pulitzer Prize-winning novel will stay with you long after your tears fall onto the final page. All I'll say is that I think about this novel once every couple of days, and it is sticking with me and these characters and how they resemble ourselves and what we can learn from them. And yeah, that's Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. Is it too early to reread Lonesome Dove? Can I do that? Yeah. All right, next up on the list is maybe the toughest read on this list. It's Juice by Tim Winton. It is a dystopian climate fiction novel. Tim Winton is one of Australia's greatest, most cherished writers. And I include this on this list because after thinking about it for the last few years, I do think it is almost required reading. You can make your own mind up about that. I'm not going to tell you what to read and what not to read. It follows an unnamed narrator and a young girl who are in the process of getting captured. And in the capturing, this man who is unnamed as the narrator essentially goes through his life story and his challenges growing up in Western Australia now that climate change has taken full grasp. It's a story that's put into the context of the not so distant future and how everyone in the summertime has to live underground because of how wicked the storms are, and in the wintertime go out to do all of their work and in order to survive. Society seems like it has collapsed. It is hot. It is dry. It is trading goods with one another in order to survive. The land is barren, it's ash, it's dust, it is not what it once was. And this story was a really difficult read as I was reading it. As I was turning the pages really slowly, slugging my way through it. And it was the first novel in a really long time that I thought, it's actually really important to read books that challenge you in that way. Not every book is meant to be this joyful reading experience. This book has stuck with me for the last couple of years in a way that has surprised me. And the tough part of this novel is it's very human, and it has elements of resilience, and it has elements of perseverance and change, while also grasping at the power of human connection. There's power in saying the thing that people don't want to say. And Tim Winton has really put everything aside and said, I don't give a fuck. I am going to hold people liable. I included it because I think some of the best novels and some of the most important things that we read are not necessarily designed to be enjoyed. They're designed for a message. They're designed for a purpose. They're designed to educate us and move us to make change and change our perspective and try to move forward in a different way. Read, listen, reflect, and start trying to make some of those shifts for the humanity and for the future of all of this. I know all that to say, while I was reading it, I really hated it, but in reflection, it's maybe one of the most important novels I've read in the last 5 years. So I'm going to include it up there. Anyway, that's Juice by Tim Winton. Read it. maybe. Yeah, Tim Winton, man. All right, let's jump back onto a couple of happier novels here. East of Eden, I spoke about this in my last video, so I'm not going to labor the point, but this is a family epic saga of a novel. It's sprawling, it's long, it's chunky, it feels rich in color. There doesn't feel like there is any wasted sentences or story or paragraphs or pages. It feels all connected in this way that everything feels really deliberate. Oh, and it's by John Steinbeck, if you didn't know that already. It's a story about good and evil. It's a story about love and rejection. It is a modern retelling of the Cain and Abel story, which I didn't know when I was reading it. But on reflection and sitting with this novel for a few more weeks, it is just this glorious novel that keeps you turning pages, that makes you think differently. It feels like a novel that was written recently, and ironically enough, it was written in the 50s. It just holds such richness and wholeness and humanness within the pages. It's a multi-generational saga set in the Salinas Valley of California, with two families that kind of become intertwined, and how those actions and how that connection resolves into this story here. And without saying too much, because I don't think that I will give it the justice it deserves, I just want to say that I've just been thinking about it a lot. And that is the theme with all of the books on this list. They are epic sprawling novels that are perfect reads to sit under a park tree or in the sunshine or on the beach or on the cafe patio, whatever that might be, and to read and think about and reflect. And I think all of these stories, what I think really hold true is the human connection and the human element, and how that is intertwined and connected and holds true to the story and our lives and the humanness, and how we can reflect and learn and discover about ourselves and about our families and about the world at large. The writing of this book is stunning. The story is outstanding. And I'm going to be thinking about East of Eden for a very, very long time. Yeah, perfect park read if you ask me. Far out, the ocean's beautiful. This is such a nice place to make an early morning video, I swear. I should do this more often. All right, next up I have the Booker Prize winning novel, The Luminaries by Eleanor Catton. This is a 1860 gold rush mystery story set in New Zealand. It follows a newcomer, Walter Moody, who stumbles into a meeting of 12 people meeting about 3 different crimes. And the narrative weaves in between 3 different events that perhaps are connected. And Moody's role within the novel is to unravel and collect the truth. There's secrets, there's hidden debts, there is murders, and this novel is weaved around all of these things and connected into one epic sprawling novel. It is this awesome historical fiction, but also this mystery, but also ties like a whole bunch of different genres into like making its own thing. It's honestly sensational. It explores fate and free will. It explores morality. It explores greed, and it explores colonialism, with its core themes kind of being centered around those 4 main pillars. And I read it a couple summers ago and was just like allured by this thing. I don't have a physical copy with me anymore, but I just fell in love with this story and Eleanor Catton as a writer and a creator and a world builder. It kind of feels like a fantasy novel, but it's not entirely a fantasy novel. It's actually not a fantasy novel at all. It's a historical fiction novel set in 1866 in New Zealand, but it is so much more than that. All that to say, Eleanor Catton is a powerhouse of a writer. This should be added to your summer reading list. And for my friends in the Southern Hemisphere, you could probably also add this to your winter reading list if you felt inclined. Anyway, that's The Luminaries by Eleanor Cadden. Okay, I've got one more book here to share with you before I share the one book I am planning to read this summer that is an epic sprawling novel. Anyway, I've got All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. This is an epic novel that spans over the length of decades and combines a missing person, a serial killer, and a love story. It follows Patch, who is captured as a teenager and in the dark of the cellar that he is captured in, believes that there is someone there with him and a girl. And when he is finally rescued and freed, he spends his next decades trying to find who this girl was, if she was ever freed, and what happened to her. And this story really highlights the themes of long rippling effects of trauma, but also courage and hope and obsession, and what these things do to a person and a world and the people around said person. And what Chris Whitaker does really well is he doesn't just throw plot twists at you, but he throws character twists at you. He makes these characters make decisions in the moment, but the action is unknowable and the moments afterwards are unknowable. And so it is a risk and it is a decision. And within doing that, he has you on the edge of the seat as a reader, and it's emotional and the stakes feel incredibly high because their decision has implications and it has impact and it has things that matter to the story as a whole. And it's what makes the characters in this book feel so alive and so real. I read this in a weekend over the summer, sitting on the chair underneath the sun beaming through the window. This novel is awesome, and yeah, I would highly recommend All the Colors of the Dark. My only fault and my only complaint with it is how they choose to spell color on the front cover. That's it. That's my whole complaint. Anyway, great book. And before I get going from this beautiful sunny spot by the water, I'm going to share the one epic sprawling novel that I'm going to read this summer. It is Moby Dick by Herman Melville. I have such a tough time saying his name, but this is a cult classic. It's a story about finding humanity's limits. It's a story between humans and nature, and it's a story about obsession. It's a cult classic. It's been on my list forever. I've spoken about it a little bit in another video. I don't actually know that much more about it, but it is an epic sprawling novel. And yeah, that's the book I'm going to read this summer. That is a summer reading book on a summer reading list. Next to the ocean, I plan to read this one with the orca whales, hopefully making a little bit of a visit. All right, guys, they are my summer reading list recommendations for your summer list this summertime. Hopefully under a nice tree next to a beach or on a cafe patio. I lugged every single one of these books down to the beach this morning at about 6:30. So if you don't mind liking and subscribing and letting me know in the comments what book you would add to a summer reading list, that would be incredibly appreciated. It doesn't go unnoticed, and I will see you back here for the next one. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. Be kind to yourself and be kind to one another, and enjoy your summer reading. That was fun.